Brian, just say what's up real quick. Yep.
Uh,
This is Brian, and then we have Michael here. Some of you guys may have saw him earlier, but and just say hi, Michael.
What's up?
Yep. These two are brothers. And if you guys see me sort of looking to the either left or right, I don't know which side it is for you guys. It's because I have my phone. That's what I'm talking to, and then I also have my computer screen here on the call as well. So that's where kind of like my notes are. Um, and so yeah, these two. The reason why I wanted you two to talk to my boys today is because despite despite what it may seem, I haven't gone through the process. I haven't gone through the college process. I haven't gone through the professional process, and I sort of want your guys' input on all the things that kind of go unnoticed when going into college looking, with these guys being freshmen and sophomores now, and sort of talking from your experience, what are some of the things that you yourself do and some of your teammates around you do that sort of differentiates themselves from, say, other players who didn't necessarily get to the level that you guys are at now. So I can try and speak on it as much as I can, but obviously I don't have firsthand experience, whereas you guys do. And so I kind of and so I just wanted you guys to sort of touch on that. And so just to introduce you guys, we'll start with Brian first. Um, Brian here, he played Division 1 at the University of Wisconsin in Green Bay for all 4 years of his college schooling. And in doing so, and during those 4 years, he was able to help Green Bay win the Horizon League championship. And that's sort of like a regional championship type thing, and within the area, amongst all the Division 1, and I think there's some Division 2 schools in there. Brian could touch on that a little more when he can. And then after college, he signed a contract with the Michigan Stars FC, in the National Independent Soccer Association, the NISA. And that if the boys aren't if the boys aren't really well aware of what the NISA is, Brian, do you want to touch on that a little bit?
yeah. Oh, right now. Oh, right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so NISA is just like its own league. Um, they're considered third division here in the U.S. and they're trying to build like their own mini like soccer pyramid by themselves, and they have their own amateur leagues as well. So they're trying to stand on their own and hopefully get that Division 2 or even like Division 1 status as years go on in the future.
Cool. Thanks for that. And then now, Brian, you are currently in preseason with Flagel FC, based in Fresno, California. That's correct, right?
Yep, that's correct as of right now, but I had to come back to Minnesota yesterday because of like some personal issues that I had to take care of, but I'll be going back. I'll decide if it's right for me to go back later.
Sure. Yeah. Well, what's important is that Brian has gotten the opportunity to be able to, at least say that he's been able to have the opportunity with these teams. And so, and then Mike, but when you graduated high school, Mike, you graduated, and you were accepted to play Division 1 soccer at the University of Pacific, California, for the Pacific Tigers. But you decided to instead go to Portugal, to try and advance your professional career there for, I want to say it's pronounced Dezembro.
Yeah.
And Dezembro is, you were there for 2 seasons. Your first season, you said you were there for you played for majority of the time with the under-19s, and then a little while afterwards, you started training with the first team there and getting some shots there. And Dezembro is, you said, I think, the third division of Portuguese football, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And then after Portugal, after about 2 years, you came back to the U.S., and then you were able to sign a contract with Forward Madison, for USL League One, and I did a quick research. I didn't really ask you about it, but I think the stats show that you registered 4 goals, 2 assists that season, right?
Yep.
Yep. So you're able to score at the professional level, and now you are currently working out with Columbus Crew, the Columbus Crew 2, and that team's a part of the MLS Next Pro League. That's relatively new now, right? It's like
Yeah,
a year in the making
it
now.
just started this year, so we're gonna see how this new league goes. It's with all the MLS, like their second teams. They're all gonna be in one league together, so we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Well, when that starts, good luck. You know, with what you both are doing right now, it's great accomplishments already. You know, no matter what anyone else may say. So, as one of your good friends, I've always been proud of what you guys have been able to do. So just to give my boys a bit of a base. Let's just talk about your youth background. You know, when did you start playing? What clubs did you what sort of clubs did you guys start playing for? Because I think what a lot of people don't realize is, you know, these professional players that reach that level. I think a lot of young players don't understand that they started basically where they started right now. And so, you know, I just, you know, touch upon, you know, your youth background, when you start playing, what teams you start playing for, what sorts of options were available for you when you were a youth athlete.
I mean, both of us technically played for the same teams growing up, up until like Michael hit like I think junior or senior year. But I started when I was 7, and then we started playing for St. Paul United, and then up until like U12 we left to MTA. So I was there at MTA for like 2 years, went back to St. Paul United, and then after that we went to the DA program back at MTA.
And then for me, it was kind of basically the same thing. I always played up in an age group up, or maybe 2 years, because I played with Brian. And once I hit junior year, that's when I moved to Shattuck to play 2 years there. So there's really no difference from Brian's playing youth career.
What about you know, in comparison to today's game and back then, what sorts of opportunities were different from the days that we were playing versus what a lot of the players are have access to now? If you happen to have any insight on that.
I think now, you know, this new generation, they have Minnesota United, you know, that formed. You know, when we were younger, we didn't have that. We didn't have an MLS team to turn to, you know, in our hometown. And I think right now the kids have a better opportunity to, you know, showcase their talents and stuff with Minnesota United, and hopefully sign homegrown contracts. Because with us, like, it's either you have to move out of state or something like that to, you know, find an opportunity. So I think right now with this new generation, they should take advantage of this.
And I think so too with Minnesota United, compared to like the opportunities that were presented to us. It comes with like money. So like with Minnesota United, if you're good, you'll play for free there. But like for us, like with academy programs, you had to pay like 3,000 to 7,000 like a year just to be a part of it. And it also was a bad thing because not many of the best players in Minnesota decided to play in that program because of the money.
Right. Yeah, for us, it was like for us, all we really had was either you go to a DA program, or you play Premier at a different club somewhere, or there's ODP, or we had ODP as well. But outside of those 3 opportunities, you know, in comparison to what a lot of these young players have today, they're, you know, there's a lot more chance to get that exposure that you want these days than there was back then, right?
Yeah.
You would agree?
Yep.
Yeah. So the next question I had was sort of like because I think one of the things as a coach that's always really hard to teach is sort of that balance between having fun and then also using those fun opportunities to really work on your game. So, what sorts of mental messages did you guys tell yourself every time you put your cleats on for things like practices, games, small pickup games, futsal, anything like that? Um, if you guys want to touch on that, like what is that balance, would you guys say? How do you guys find that balance in having fun and then just also using those fun opportunities to at least try and work on your game, if you guys want to touch on that?
Mike can go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I well, like, at first, growing up, I always just try to have fun. I didn't really think about, using these like pickup games as an opportunity to like improve something that I needed to until I reached like high school. Um, I think any opportunity you get, you should try and, work on things that you don't really do or things you need to work on in the game, unless, I think it just depends on the situation. Like if you're playing pickup with friends, just and it depends on the competition that you're playing with. Like if you're playing with guys who aren't as good, there's no need to like do things that you would do with players that play at a high level. If you're just playing pickup with some old friends, I think it's fine to have fun and just enjoy it. But if you're playing with guys who are playing at the same level as you or even higher, I think that's when you should use that time to work on your craft and work on everything that you want to work on.
And I think like mentally, whenever like you're playing pickup or if it's just like training and stuff like that, I think you players should demand um to play at like a high level. Of course, like especially in pickup. I know it's just pickup, but still like you still want to be successful at doing things, but at the same time it's like you also want to enjoy it. And I think there's like a fine line that needs to be talked about putting too much pressure on yourself, because that's something that like I deal with, because even if it is just pickup or if it is team training, like I put so much pressure on myself because like I want to do well, and like I don't want to like kind of like do develop bad habits in a way. So but the fine line should be like you also want to enjoy it, because at the end of the day it is just soccer.
Right, right. and
I
and,
think
and oh, go ahead, Mike.
I think also like what I went through last year, it was kind of the same thing like Brian. I was thinking like at practice, I was thinking too much about, you know, pleasing other people, what they think of me, if I'm good enough. But it got to a point where I wasn't performing, how I wanted to. And I realized that there's no need, you just go out and have fun. Like there's no need to think about what others think and how you're going to play. If you play well, you play well. Like just let the game come to you, you know. And I think Calvin and Titus, when you guys came to play open dome with us, you guys kind of saw how we take it seriously, but also we want to have fun with it. Like
Mhm.
you obviously, it's open dome, it's pickup. You play 8v8. You want to win still. You don't want to develop those bad habits where you don't care much. You just go through the motions. Even in pickup, I think it's still important to develop those good habits, those winning mentalities, always wanting to win. It's a pride thing, so I think that's also something to keep in mind.
Right, and I think so. Yeah, and I try. Like I said, it's one of the hardest things to teach as a coach, because you can't really draw a line. You can't really tell players, hey, you can't do this, because you still want your players to have fun, right? And so I've been lucky enough to grow with some of these players over the last 4 years now, where they kind of already know, sort of like, or where they start to have an idea of what type of balance there is when it comes to having fun and actually being competitive and working on your game. But when you're out there having fun, I think young players need to also understand that there's a joy in winning as well, and you want to. And I always talk about hating the feeling of losing more than you like the feeling of winning. And so there's and when you consistently do the same thing over and over again, and it leads to 3-4 back-to-back losses in small pickup games, or 3-4 back-to-back goals that you guys let up, there has to be some level of accountability that you hold yourself to, and then but also your teammates hold yourselves to as well. I think the worst thing you can do as a teammate is to never talk during a game and then go back home, talk to your family about it during dinner. Right? If you're gonna talk about it at dinner, then let your teammates know about it now. Any thoughts about that?
No, but I just wanted to add to, like, especially when playing at a high level, when it's time to be serious, you got to be serious. So like you have to know that there are some players that can't do this and it takes a while for them to adjust, but the players that are able to have that switch and flip it and turn it on when you have to turn it on, those players end up succeeding more than the players that don't know how to adjust in those moments. So like guys that don't understand certain situations and how serious they are, they take a while to adjust and wake up, other than the guys that can turn the switch on at any second and just play good at any moment. You rather be that player than be the player that takes forever to adjust.
Right. Right. And I agree with that a lot. And over the last month or so, I've been taking my boys to futsal, and where I kind of just let them, play, get more touches on the ball. And there have been some days that have been really, really good, where where the competitiveness is real, the physicality is real, and I really enjoy watching that, and it makes me feel really good about it as their coach. And where the players are getting frustrated, not to a point where they're bullying other teammates or anything like that, but they're frustrated to a point where, because they know that their teammates can do better, and they're holding them accountable to one another. But there have also been days where the competitiveness is not as high, and it's frustrating, and it's frustrating for me to watch sometimes, and I can also see that it's frustrating for and some of their teammates' eyes. And so, all I have to say to that is just, where if I can see the frustration in your eyes and you're not really saying anything, what are you really doing to really help get rid of that frustration, right? Because if you're frustrated, let your teammates know about it. Hold them accountable to it, and that's what, and that's only, and it's because your teammates know that your teammates should know who you are personally, and if say someone as quiet as maybe, like we know my brother likes to talk a lot, like he makes his frustrations known, right? And if at one point Titus decides to just stop talking, maybe that means that he's given up, and we don't want that, right? And then whereas we have a player named Xavier. Xavier's here right now. Xavier, who doesn't necessarily talk a lot. If Xavier, it looks frustrated in his eyes, and Xavier, if you decided to, kind of really be vocal about your frustrations to your teammates, I think your teammates know you well enough to say, hey, Xavier doesn't really talk a lot, but now he's actually talking to me. Maybe Xavier actually is frustrated a little bit, and maybe I should think about playing a little better, right? And so, yeah, there's like I said, there's a fine balance, something that I'm still trying to learn how to preach as a coach, but sort of, like I said, it's been getting better over the last month or so. All right. Thanks for your thoughts on that. Let's talk about some of the things that you guys do that doesn't necessarily get shown. to reach the level that you guys are playing at right now. What just basically kind of talk about what you guys did that sort of went under the radar that really took you guys to that you guys think that took you guys to a whole nother level. Because Brian, I'm a whole year older than you, and then Mike, I'm like 2 or 3 years older than you. And I think when you were about 17, 16, and I was about 18, 19, I think that you guys may have been better than me by then already, but I think I was still able to keep up with you by a certain point. And then I think it was that year when I think it was that year that I came to join Magic's that year. It's a Hmong soccer team, if you guys aren't aware. And you guys are playing, and you guys are playing. I think when I was watching you guys play, I thought to myself, man, these guys really dusted me in terms of their development. And so, I kind of already have a sort of an idea, but what sorts of things kind of go under the radar when working towards a big dream, like playing professionally or even just to play college ball,
I think the main thing that we did was the amount of training we did on our own and the amount of individual like workouts that we also did on our own. We weren't the type of players that would just wait until team training to train. So like after school, right before our team training, we would go there and we would train for like an hour and a half before every like DA practice. We would train by ourselves, and then afterwards like we would go straight to the gym and just work out. And that has just been going on for like years during our teenage years. And then that just ends up developing into good habits. If you want to reach the next level, you have to do work outside of team training. And I think that's overall just how we started to develop. And over time, your body just starts changing like into like a man. And so like it starts helping you that way too. But I think that was like the main thing that I saw.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think also we would watch over our film. Like I think that's another way we improved throughout the years. Is after every game, we would go and watch it over and look at our mistakes and try to correct them. And we'd either correct them at training or correct them, by ourselves individually. With our dad. Our dad used to train us every single day, and he'd find flaws in our game, and we just work on it almost, I don't know, like day in and day out. And like even when we made it, we still kept those good habits. Still training on our own, finding time to do workouts on our own. Like right now, I still do 2 or 3 sessions a day. I'm like including team training. I'd go work out in the morning, train with the team, then get like another session in later. So I think, but like what Brian said, it just develops good habits and makes your body eventually gets used to all the training loads that you put on it.
Right.
And
Go ahead, Brian.
oh, and I was just gonna say like about watching film and stuff, like adding on to that, the amount of soccer that you should watch growing up should not have like a limitation on it, because I don't know how many kids actually watch soccer that much. Some of them just end up just playing and just watching highlights, but you need to sit down and actually watch games and try to learn as much as possible from guys that play your position and just watch them the whole game. You don't watch the ball or where the ball is moving, because if you just specifically watch the person in your position, you'll see how they move. You'll see if how many times they're checking their shoulder, their body positioning, everything. So I think that's something that youth players need to do more often, because I'm not sure if guys are doing that now, or they're not doing it enough.
Right.
Yeah,
And
like the type of
go ahead, Mike.
hold on, one more thing.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
type of videos that, kids usually watch these days on YouTube are just like skill mix videos. They're not actually videos of, a player versing this team. So let's say I'm watching a video of Neymar, yeah, they usually just pick a video with him with all these actions from different games of
Mhm.
like really cool clips of him, But I think those videos are good to watch too, but not to learn, To
Mhm.
learn, you want to watch the videos where it's like Neymar versus Real Madrid, just him in that game, every action that he did in that game. That's the type of videos you want to watch so you can learn from what he did that game and pick up little things.
Right. And I would agree with everything that you guys are saying right now. And I think excuse me. And I would think, and I think as you guys are saying that, I think a lot of the boys are kind of like saying, "Oh yeah, I already knew all this, Cal." But I think I the as a coach, the last thing I want for my players to do is to fall into the trap that I fell into, because when I played, I can tell you guys what I didn't do enough of rather than what I did do back then. Um, I didn't I didn't go to the gym enough. I didn't work individually enough outside of to really develop my technical ability even more. One of my biggest drawbacks when I was a youth player was the fact that I wasn't able to use my weaker foot, and I didn't take the time to go out and really work on that, and which is part of the reason why I'm so stressful about that now with these boys here. Um, and I also didn't watch enough. I didn't watch enough football. I do a lot more of all of those things now, and I'm really starting to understand why these players did all of why these younger players who actually made it to a certain level made it to a much higher level than I did, because me just sort of doing these things now, like I don't even do a lot of those extra stuff a lot, but in comparison to what in comparison to how much I did them when I was younger, is a lot more than I ever did when I was younger. And just a few amount of times that I've been able to watch games or go out and go out and practice the technical ability stuff on my own, and individually, it's really slowed the game down for me, and I'm really starting to understand. And to your guys' point about not watching the mixtapes versus watching the actual one player versus this team. Um, I think a lot of us here could do with a little more of that. And I think if you guys are going to watch a player, right, I think the best thing you could do is to watch 10 seconds before every single time they get the ball, right? Yeah. I think there was a clip from about Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City, and 10 seconds before he got the ball, he looked over his shoulder like 7 times before he even got the ball. And those little things that, again, I stress more so now than I ever did before, because of the fact that I didn't do enough of this when I was a young player, right? Is going to help you that much more, because I used to think that the premier level, the varsity level, was a pretty fast paced, level of play. So like simple high school varsity level, simple my sub premier level. And the game has slowed down more so for me than it ever did when I was younger. Not because I'm physically more capable, or not because I'm better. It's because of the fact that I did all of this extra stuff now more so than I ever did when I was a young player. When I was a young player, I didn't. I fell into the trap thinking, I'll be just fine if I play the occasional pickup game every now and then, um, or go super hard at team trainings and stuff like that. And I fell into that trap a little bit, but and so that's part of the reason why I asked you two to come here, because I wanted you guys to touch on that a little more, because I don't want my players to fall into that trap of thinking that, if their aspirations are to reach that level, you know, waiting for practices, and for team events that we do isn't going to be quite enough, and when we say that, you guys can touch on this a little more. We're not saying that to discourage our players from trying, or because the fact is, we still want you guys to play this game. We just, we're trying to give you guys a bit of perspective about what you could possibly do to help yourself, not only yourself but the team, but just to win the now, like this year, right? Cool. Thank you. Thanks for that. Let's go on to my next question. So speaking of college ball, you know, let's talk about the college process, and this is part of the reason why I wanted Chance to be here too, because he talks about the coaching side of things. But you and Brian sort of went through that college process in terms of reaching out to coaches, getting them to look at you play. And like I said, Brian, you played Division I at Green Bay, and Mike, you were going to go, had you not gone to Portugal, but you were going to go play Division I at the University of the Pacific in California. Just sort of how were you guys able to get those opportunities, if you guys don't mind me asking? Because a lot of these players are freshmen and sophomores now, and they're reaching a certain age now where that starts to become a bit of a concern for them.
I'll just talk about comparing my process to Mike's, because this is like two different like processes that we went through.
Sure.
So like for Michael, he was invited to national team camps, scored 15 goals in the DA. And so a player like that, you're gonna have colleges reach out to you by themselves. You're gonna have colleges just reach out and invite you to visit their school. But if you're like me, and yeah, you're in DA, but you're not making national team camps, you're not scoring 15 goals a season. So you're kind of like basically under the radar. Not many people know you. So you can't just sit around and wait for colleges to come after you. You have to contact them. You have to go to their camps. That's how you develop a relationship between these coaches. So when you do go to showcases, they do come out and watch you play. And that's how you will get more opportunities than thinking that they should come to you, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. But before we get to you, Mike, let's just talk about how were you able to get Green Bay to come out and watch you, Brian?
So I got Green Bay to come out because we went to play in Wisconsin for an academy game, and I just asked them. I was just like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in this area, and I'm interested in going to your school and playing for your program. Would you come out and watch me play?" And I was fortunate enough that so we played on Saturday and they had a camp on Sunday. So I went after that game, I went to their camp. So then, because I knew that maybe in that game, you don't know how it's going to go.
Right.
You don't know if your team is not going to do well, if you're not going to do well. But I was like lucky enough to do well in that game. So going into that camp, they already knew who I was. They had some interest. So it just gave them the opportunity to see me play more. But I think also when it comes to picking schools, you have to be realistic with your choices. You can't just think that, oh, I'm going to go play for, let's say, like Michigan State. I want to play for Michigan State. Like those big schools are the ones that they're the type of schools that go after the best players in the country. And if you're not that, then I'm sure that they're not going to look at you, and you want to go to a place where you're going to enjoy it, number one, and you're going to play a lot. So you rather play a lot than go to a big school just because the name and just sit on the bench, and you might end up like quitting like a year in or two in and stuff. So I think the best thing with me was that I was very realistic with my choices. And I just decided to go to Green Bay because I knew that there I would develop more and I would play a lot more. And that was more important to me than anything else.
Right. Mike, you want to add anything else?
Um, well, for mine, I think there's one lesson to take out of it is the way Pacific kind of saw me was from the DA showcase. And I think the first game I scored 2 goals. The second game I scored one. And then after that showcase, they emailed me saying, yeah, like we want you to come for a visit. We saw you play at the showcase. And that's kind of how everything started with Pacific. But I think one thing to take away from that is you never know who's watching you. So it doesn't matter if it's just a league game or an actual showcase. You got to perform. You got to be ready to, to give everything because you don't know who's in the stands watching you. So I think that's one thing to take away from that. Brian kind of already said, the whole process and everything like that. So yeah.
Oh, can I add one more
Yeah.
thing? So about the college process, players will get these like mass emails from colleges, and I don't want any of the players here like getting confused with that and like thinking that the school is interested in them because everybody gets those emails. Those are just like emails to invite every player like in the country to their camp so they can make money. But the difference between those emails and the emails that they're actually interested in you, they'll say your name, they'll say where they saw you play, they'll give you the dates that they did see you play, and they'll just make it more personal in that way in those type of emails to show that they're interested in you. So I don't want players thinking that just because you get a mass email from a school that they're interested in you, because there are players out there that I've played with that have thought that, and in the end they go to those camps and the coach has no idea who they are. So that's just a thing that to look out for.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that preface, Brian. So based on what you guys are saying, that's also part of the reason why I wanted you guys on too, is because I think that unless you're Mike who puts up the numbers, right? If you there's more oftentimes than not, a lot of the college process is you reaching out to the coaches to come look at you rather than them reaching out to you. Unless, like I said, you are the guy that puts up the numbers, then and your name is out there, you will more than likely not. Coaches more likely than not are probably going to be there to probably going to these events to look at other players rather than you. And so, if if your aspiration is to at least play college ball, one thing to take away from this conversation is, take the initiative yourself. Reach out to whichever schools you want to go to, and then ask to see that they want to come out. And if they don't, you're going to get rejected, once or twice. Live with it. Don't get discouraged. Continue to keep moving forward. And to your point, Brian, about being realistic, it's and that's kind of segue into my next question here is, what are the other opinions? What are your opinions on the different college levels? What other routes can young players take? If you happen to know, because like I said, to your point about being realistic, it's being realistic is not meant to discourage a lot of these players. It's more so, understanding that opportunities will come your way as long as you keep working hard, and just there like we were talking earlier about the NISA wanted to differentiate themselves from MLS Next or USL, and in this country specifically, there are so many different routes you can take to reach the goal that you're trying to reach. And so, what opinions do you guys have on like the different college levels, D3, D2, D1, JUCO, or just what other routes are there if you guys happen to touch upon that, that these young players can take?
I don't think there's anything against the different kind of levels, especially in college, because if you being realistic with yourself and saying that, oh, maybe I'm not quite ready to be a Division 1 player, to be a Division 2 player, and you do go spend time playing JUCO, D3, or NAIA, and then that will give you the opportunity for you to develop like in a year. Let's say like you go to those programs and you ball out. And also like they'll give your body time to adapt and change. And so then you can always make the transfer to go to a D2, go to a D1, because just because you don't play Division 1 doesn't mean you're not good. There are so many guys who are ballers out there that have played in JUCO and then they made the transfer to Green Bay and they were perfectly fine. And they were playing better than my teammates that were there from day one. So I don't think there's any right or wrong way to go. It just depends on the player. And especially at the next level beyond college, there are so many guys that I played with on my team last year that many of them didn't even play Division 1. They came from D2, D3 schools. And I was so shocked to see that from them because I was just like, dang, like you guys are playing at this level and in college you guys weren't even playing Division 1, but you guys, I can see how good you guys are. So everybody knows how to play, everybody knows their own path. So I guess you just have to pick the right one for you in the end.
Mike, on anything else?
I think the
Maybe
most
talking a little bit about adding what you can to that, but also talking about how you can relate to that via your Fort Madison teammates. Like were some of your Fort Madison teammates, some of them went through something similar to that.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is to not focus on what other people are achieving. You're gonna see guys committing to D1 schools, like all these type of D1 schools. Like if it's not the same for you, like don't worry too much about it. Everyone has their own route to D1 or the professional game. So I think just don't let yourself get distracted on focusing on your own game and your own path. And for Ford Madison, there were a ton of guys who weren't even playing at the D1 level. They played D3. Like I had a goalie that played D3 at St. Thomas in Minnesota, and he didn't do anything for like 2 years, and he just went to the tryout and got signed. So don't think that you have to play at a D1 level to play pro. Like there are a ton of guys in League One who came from D2 schools too. And they came from overseas playing, fourth, fifth division. So if you have what it takes to play at the level, then you should be fine.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's also part of the reason why I wanted Chance to be here as well, is because I know Chance feels very strongly about the different college levels and their tape, because Chance, for those of you that for my players here that don't know, Chance is a college coach. He coaches at Northwestern over in Colorado, and I think they're the D3 school at the moment. But one of Chance's biggest frustrations when it comes to recruiting is he finds it very difficult to recruit players that live here in the U.S., because a lot of young players believe in this sort of D1 or bust mentality. When, as you guys said, there are a lot of different routes you could take. And the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of D3 programs out there that could very well compete. It's up to your opinion to decide whether or not they'll be successful or not. But a lot of those schools can compete with some of the best of them. I was Xavier, and I was talking to your dad at practice on Saturday about how a lot of the programs that, like Augsburg's program has become one of the better programs within the region, and then St. Cloud and St. Thomas's program have improved immensely over the last year or so too now as well. And so they're and thanks for touching upon that, guys. I wanted my players to open their eyes, and understand that, it's not. I don't want them to have a sort of D1 or bust mentality. If their goal is to play at a higher level, there are a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And again, this sort of segues into my last question here is the sort of like, um, what was some of the thought process you guys had, when things weren't necessarily going your way, when you realized, um, you know the schools that you guys maybe wanted to go to at first didn't really want you, or like the teams that you guys were on weren't giving you playing time, or even injuries, or maybe if a team just wasn't as good as you thought, when you decided you wanted to go there. When things weren't necessarily going your way, what did you sort of tell yourself, to help you again get to where you guys are now, and that is, signing contracts, playing at a level. Any thoughts?
Dude, you're mute, dude.
My bad. I think I could kind of touch on this because, of what happened to me last year with Madison. A new coach comes in, pushes me to the side, and I fought like a mental battle with myself the whole year, thinking like, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes to play at this level? And I think playing at a high level, even Division 1 to the pros, it's all about, mental strength, being mentally strong. It's, yeah, the technical and tactical part is super important too, but if you don't have the mental game to, go through emotions, then I'm not sure if you're going to be able to survive in the professional level or even college level, because there are going to be days where, you're depressed because, you're not playing well. You're, you don't get the minutes that you want. You don't like your teammates, but you just gotta, I guess, find something inside of you that's gonna give you that spark again. And what I did is I would go back and look and watch my old videos, watch myself doing good things. And that would, tell myself, hey, look, like I could do these things. Doing it like one more time is no problem. Like I can do it on the field again. I've done it before. I've trained it. I trained this thing so many times, so doing it one more time is no problem. And also, just finding someone to talk to help you get through this. You don't have to fight this, like everything by yourself. And I feel like if you talk to somebody, let your feelings and emotions out, to someone that can see it from the outside, that's going to help you a lot to get through everything. And you eventually break down that barrier and things will start falling into your favor.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I would just say that, like, because in my situation last year, when I first signed, I was playing a lot and then I got injured, and it just developed into this thing where the coaching staff didn't trust me anymore. So then the whole winter to like the spring, I was just not playing. And in training, it was just like, it felt like I was just there, but like they didn't like care about me. So how I went about it was just like, I'm just gonna put my head down and just grind it out as much as I can. I'm just gonna play for myself. I don't care if they don't want me next season or not. Like I'm doing this for me. So if I do find a better destination next year, then I'll be set and ready to go instead of dwelling on what's going on and just feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah, and doing so, like I said, both of you guys found yourselves with other opportunities, and so that's, like I said, the mental fortitude that you guys have always had since you guys have been 10 has always been something to has always been something I've looked up to. So I will always be proud of you guys for the fact that you guys are able to do what you guys do at the moment. So like I said, that was and again, these when things are going your way, it happens at all levels, right? It doesn't just happen at the professional level, right? I think that Brian, I know you went through some minutes like playing
Yeah,
time issues with MTA.
yeah, even at MTA, like guys, it was just such a political environment where the coaching staff were playing players that weren't better than me, and those guys were playing over me. So I was just like, what is going on here? Like, why are you favoring these guys? And it just got to the point where I just got so fed up. So it just made me so hungry to keep training and train harder every day than those guys. So like every training session felt like I was playing in a final. And like you just want to get after it so bad, and like you want to prove your coach wrong. And so it was like I got to experience that, like I would say at a decent age, and it allowed me to like pick things up quickly, and it made it easier to adjust in the college level, because obviously when you get there you start from the bottom, unless like you're a big name player in the country. But technically you start from the bottom, you have to prove yourself again, so that made it easier to adjust. And I felt more comfortable with myself in those situations as I got older.
Right. Anything else for that?
Nope. Nope.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, these situations happen at all levels, and so that's just I want some of these boys to recognize that as well. It doesn't just happen at the professional level. And I always tell these boys that playing time is not guaranteed on this team. If you want the minutes that you guys want, then you have to work for it. All the starting positions on this team, and these boys know, all the starting positions on this team are out in the open. And if I feel like I want to start so and so over the other, then that's just how the coach feels like. It's going to happen everywhere. It's up to you about whether or not you want to decide you want to let that get you, or if you want to fight over that, climb over that hill. All right. So like I said, that was my last question. I think the last thing I'm going to have them do, because we've been here for about an hour now. The last thing I'll have you guys do is just see if any of my boys have any questions for you. And then after that, if you guys have any closing messages you guys want to leave for them, feel free to speak. So anyone from here, feel free to just unmute yourself and just talk.
Yeah, I had a question. So I just got started into like training multiple times a day. So like I used to like before like maybe a couple weeks ago, I was just training maybe once a day or like once every other day. But like recently I've been doing maybe twice a day or something like that. And would you like recommend, like, even though I've been gradually getting into it, I have felt like my body's maybe struggling a bit more, feeling more sore. So what would you like recommend? Like, are there any like recovery, like specific recovery things, or like maybe taking an off day completely rather than maybe like training an extra time or going to the gym?
I think the most important thing you should do every night is stretch, because that will help you wake up the next day to do it again. Because I think Brian and I, we stretched every single night, and it also helps your flexibility throughout the game. So you'll be more agile, you be quicker, the way your body works. And it doesn't hurt to take one day off. You don't have to grind every single day. That's just going to kill your body and also your mental health. And I think that you're not going to lose everything in one day. So taking that time off to let your body recover and rest is important too.
Yeah, and I think like as you do get older, Like for me, I've had my fair share of injuries, and it's about how well can you take care and manage your body. So I would say like get a foam roller and roll out every night too, or every time you're done training. If you do feel like it, you could take an ice bath too. That always helped me. And just listen to your body. And like Mike said, like you don't have to go hard every single day. You don't have to train every single day. If you feel like your body needs a rest day, then take a rest day. Like, oh, you don't want to like kill yourself and like it becomes mentally draining and you feel like you're being lazy, because everybody needs a rest day or else you're just gonna burn yourself out.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Feel free.
What type of stuff would you work on alone?
Mm,
When we usually do our individual training sessions, it's more when we were younger, like around your guys' age, it was all technical work, getting our ball control and everything like that. We'd work on things you wouldn't do at your team training. Team training, you would probably do a little bit of technical work and then just passing drills and then possession. But you don't really go into that small detail of things like the way you got to control a ball in a certain direction, or a certain way you have to control a ball, with outside your foot or something like that, or even dribbling, working on certain moves. That's what we kind of did. And, you know, even today, it's just those little tweaks in our games that we would spend majority of our time at the field trying to correct, so the tactical part, I think you'll learn that from your coach and stuff, but the technical part, that's what you should be working on when you go and train by yourself.
and I think that for us, when we do like now when we do train by ourselves, since like we are a lot older, we don't train for an hour 30 or 2 hours anymore. Like sometimes I will train for like an hour max, or like 45 minutes, just to stay sharp and just to make sure that my touches are sharp. So I would do a lot of like just dribbling around the cones, different variations, like Mike said, like working on different type of moves, because those are things that you don't do in team training. And I would just work on a lot of like passing and receiving off the wall a lot, because you guys don't know how effective using a wall is. Like you get so many touches on the ball uh, in such a small amount of time. And as you guys get older, I think it's important for you guys to realize that you guys have to change the way you train. You can't just do these little cone drills, because in a game it's not like that's gonna happen. Like the way you train individually, you guys need to understand that you guys have to train, like do very like situational stuff, like based on your position, you're in the game and stuff like that. So that's what we started to do too, is that how often can our training sessions be game like how we play in a game, especially in our position.
So yeah, I think the biggest thing that to take from the biggest thing to take from that is as far as individual work, most of the time, if not from the videos that I saw that you guys were posting on Facebook and stuff like that, I think for the most part it was primarily technical stuff. Sometimes the technical stuff involved like the type of position that you guys played, and because once you get to a certain level, like Mike said, once you get to a certain level, the team trainings are more so maybe a bit of technical work, and then after that, it's a lot of tactical and possession and stuff like that. Because when you reach a certain level, a lot of coaches at that level, they expect you to already know how to receive with your back foot, how to hit a pass with that weaker foot, and so or how to shoot with that weaker foot. So they're already expecting you to already know how to do these certain things, and if you can't, well, then that's something you have to take initiative upon yourself to be able to do, to be able to work on those things yourself. Because like I said, one of the things that I lacked was simply my ability to use my weaker foot, and when I did ODP, that was literally the biggest reason why I was not picked to go to the region on the regional team, because of the fact that I wasn't able to use my weaker foot. And no matter what I felt about other players that were picked over me, if I felt that I was better, if the fact of the matter is, I gave those coaches a reason to not pick me, I didn't realize that then, right? And I didn't work on that then, right? I kind of just let that slide when I really shouldn't have. I should have used that as motivation to work on that reason that those coaches didn't pick me. Yeah, that's something to keep in mind of.
And I would like to add that, like, you guys will be surprised about how technical or not technical players are, even at the Division 1 level. Because when I did get to Green Bay and we did do passing drills, guys couldn't even control the ball. Some guys were missing passes. And I was so shocked, because I was just like, how are you guys doing this at this level? Like, you guys are Division 1 players, you guys are juniors and seniors, and you guys can't complete a pass. So I think that's the one thing that will make a player stand out, is how technical they are. And
Right.
a lot of players that I played with or played against, like at the college level, some of guys don't even know how to take the ball off their chest. They're not comfortable with it. They're not comfortable using their weaker foot. And I'm just like, guys, like, if you guys want to play this game, you guys have to work on those weaknesses. So, like, as a senior, I would tell like the freshmen, like, you guys come in, like, if you guys aren't playing, use that time, your off time, to go into like the gym and just work on your weaknesses if you guys want to play, because the team needs everybody.
Any of you guys have more questions?
I have one. How do you handle somebody, like, if they're more technical than you, or like they're stronger than you, or they're faster than you, if they have like one thing that they just have, like, that's like above average almost?
Like, handle like playing against them, or
Yeah, how do you like play against them?
uh
Let's start off one at a time, and we'll go with, like, say, how do you handle someone that's maybe bigger and faster than you?
whenever I play against somebody that's bigger or faster than me, I try to, or even like stronger, I try to give myself a little bit more room, because if I get so tight on this person, then it's easy for them to just hold me off and just run with the ball and end up just beating me completely. So at least, like, if I'm on their back or something, I'll have my arm out at like arm's length. So as soon as he pushes the ball, we will both have an even opportunity to get there. Because even if he's faster and stronger, I can get there by slide tackling. So, like, if you are not that fast, then slide tackling, it will be your best friend. Like, Mike and I didn't know that at a young age, up until like later in our careers, that we started slide tackling more, because the game and the players are just much more faster than us and stronger.
And then, Mike, if you don't have anything else to add, how about players that are more technically more technically gifted?
Honestly, I don't know how to answer that one, because I always say to myself that I'm the best one, and that I'm always better than that person. So that thought never really comes to my head saying that this person is better than me. So I think that's one thing you should also take away is that you always want to tell yourself that you're better than that person. Even if he may be better than you, you still got to tell yourself that you're the best. And every time you step on the field, you're going to dominate everyone. And I think that's how those top players like Ronaldo and Messi and Neymar, they can do what they do is because they always tell themselves that they're the best. And already when you step on the field, you're winning mentally because you're not telling yourself, man, like this guy's better than me. Like that makes you kind of crumble up and you're passive on the field. So never think that someone's better than you. So I think that's how I can answer that, because I never really say that this person is better than me. He can do something that I can't do. Like I always tell myself that I can do that, or even I can do better than him. So I think that's what you should kind of learn from.
I think when it comes to playing against, even if guys aren't as technical as you, or if you don't think they are, but you will come across players that are still very technical. And I think how the way I deal with it when I do play against players like that, I go in hard. Like I don't give them time to put their foot on the ball and to do what they want, because the moment you give them, as they get the ball, you go in hard, but you don't want to go in to the just straight sprinting at them, because they can just take one touch and go by you. As soon as the ball is like traveling to a certain like technical player, that's when I start going too. So he'll meet me at the same time that he gets the ball. So once I'm in there, I try to make it as hard as possible, whether I'm grabbing their arm, if I'm grabbing their jersey or anything, to make it so difficult that they can't play and stuff. That's how I deal with playing against technical players.
All right. I think I'm going to stop the questions there. Apologies if you guys had any more questions. If you guys want, just shoot me a message and I will send them a message myself, and I'll have them answer from there. But otherwise, Brian and Michael, thank you for your time out of your